This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great authentic Italian food.
Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's debate. It's the school committee forum here at LynnCAM TV, and we thank you for tuning in to this live program. We have our school committee candidates here with us tonight, both incumbents and those running, and we also have wonderful moderators with us tonight. We have the former mayor, Al DiVirgilio, back again. Thank you, Al. And we also have Magnolia Contreras, who is the director at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. And Al, we know you've been very involved in a lot of things in the city, and Magnolia, you are on the board at the EDIC, so thank you both for being here. I wanted to take a moment to let everyone at home know that I will be having a time segment with each person tonight. They already know how it's going to go, and I will continue to keep them aware of it. And to everyone at home, I want to remind you, when we do live television, views expressed by candidates, by moderators, are not the views of LynnCAM or any particular group. It's individual statements being made. And so for last week, it was a little bit chaotic, and I just wanted to remind everyone that live television, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you all for being here. For the beginning, we're going to do the introductions, and each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. And I believe we can start, if it's okay with you tonight, at that end with Ms. Capano. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for having us. And I enjoy the live aspect of interview for candidates night. It's something new for all of us, and I think it does well for the cliched word of transparency. Everyone can see what we're doing and saying at the given time. So please, I'll introduce myself as a lifelong resident of the city of Lynn. I'm a homeowner. I have raised my family in the city of Lynn, and I'm very invested in our city. I am married to Mario Capano, who practices here in the city of Lynn. I have 3 sons who, as young children, were in the Lynn Public Schools. I have held the seat on the Lynn School Committee for 16 years, and I have been vice chair for the past 10 years. Prior to serving on the school committee, I was a family advocate for children with acute trauma and chronic disabilities. When I first ran for a seat on this committee, my oldest son required several services, and he required a one-on-one commitment to his education and to his medical status in the system. And as I learned to become that advocate, I learned that I could branch my advocacy to the system in a whole. So I became a member of the school committee with that passion of knowledge.
Sorry, that's a minute. I know it goes fast. Thank you so much, Ms. Capano. And up next, Ms. Coppola.
Hi, my name is Donna Coppola, and I presently sit on the Lynn School Committee. I live in Lynn, love that, and I'm married to Harry, and we have 4 children. They graduated from the old classical and the new classical. And I am grandparent to 3, and I'm a foster parent to 19 children, which most of them were in the Lynn Public School System. I became interested in running for the school committee when I was really active in the schools when my kids were in Lincoln Thompson and some of the other elementaries, as well as Breed and Classical. And I was active in the PTA. And in being active in the PTA, I really learned to advocate for all kids. And I became very interested in making changes in our school system. And that's my reason still for running. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria.
Hello, my name is Maria Carrasco, And I think that I cannot say thank you because it's wasting time. But I do want to say thank you to you for having me here. So I came to the city of Lynn in early 1980s. I had 3 children. 3 of them attended a public school in Lynn, graduating from public school also, tech, English, and classical. So I have 6 grandchildren. But one of the reasons that I was interested in becoming a school committee member was because back in my native country, Dominican Republic, I was a teacher. And I graduated, I have my degree as a teacher. So I came to Lynn, which is my city, and I never moved since I came from Dominican Republic. And I decided to run for a school committee because it was a way for me to continue my education and give it back to our community. I believe that, thank you.
Sorry, Maria. Thank you. Charlie.
Good evening. My name is Charlie Gallo. Thank you, LynnCAM, and thank you everyone who's watching tonight. I'm in my first term on the Lynn School Committee, serving since 2012, and since then, working hard to improve our schools for the benefit of our students. I'm a lifelong Lynn resident. My family's lived in Lynn for 4 generations, and I was the first in my family to graduate from college. After that, went to law school and quickly returned to the classroom, teaching at North Shore Community College at night. Some of the initiatives that I've been working on in my first term include grant funding to bring more resources to our students in our schools, career development programs in our high schools, student safety programs in our elementary schools, partnerships with businesses and nonprofits, and this week working with my colleague John Ford as well as Pete Capano from the City Council and the union work to bring the E-Team back to tech, the E-Team Machinist program to tech at night. We established the Lynn Community Enrichment Program, offering educational and recreational courses at night, have made school committee meetings available online, and working on educator appreciation initiatives. I'm running for a second term to continue working hard for our students and schools.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Gately, and I'm running for school committee. I was a lifelong Lynner. I've grown up here. I have a unique perspective of being a student, being also a teacher in Lynn schools for 33 years, and I would now like to add the school committee to that repertoire. I care about the kids in Lynn. If you bump into any of my students, they will tell you I am a person that cares, and I am going to bring the same work ethic that I brought into my classes into my position as a school committee woman. I'm going to research, I'm going to look at things, I'm going to come up with good solutions to the problems we have in Lynn. One of the things I noticed when I retired, and wasn't too long ago, was our schools are in really bad, didn't just notice it, but our schools are pretty bad. And Eastern, or Thurgood Marshall, some people don't even realize that Thurgood Marshall is Eastern Junior High School. It really needs to be torn down, and we have a new school built in its place. Thank you.
Mr. Ford.
Good evening. My name is John Ford. I've served in the school committee for the past 12 years, and I consider it a full-time commitment. I'm a lifelong resident of Lynn and a homeowner. My father was Councilor Ward 7 for 16 years. I've been married 47 years to my wife, Sheila. We have 4 daughters, 2 graduate from classical, 2 from tech, and 2 are currently teachers. 1 at Pickering, my daughter Kathy, and my youngest daughter Jennifer is at Tracy. I've got five grandchildren. I have strong educational ties. My sister Joanne is principal at Sacred Heart School. My brother-in-law Jack recently retired as a teacher at Pickering. My cousin Phyllis O'Brien teaches at Shoemaker. My wife teaches at Sacred Heart, and the Ford School was named after my uncle Robert. I have a master's degree in education and over 20 years management experience.
Okay. Melissa.
Good job.
Melissa, you can.
Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Romanello, and I've owned a home in Lynn for 6 years. Because of my experience with advocating for special education for my own children and doing extensive pro bono work, I was hired as a family support specialist, and I provide support and training to low-income families with mental health and special education needs. This is a role that allows me access to a diverse group of parents day in and day out. So I hear from parents firsthand what issues are facing our families and what issues they face when it comes to education of our children. I'm running because I recognize the need for change. I want to be the voice of parents and kids who attend the Lynn Public Schools. I have direct experience with the Lynn schools because my children attend them. My oldest two are products of the Lynn Public School system, and my youngest is a member of the class of 2023 and currently attends Druitt's. But that's not the only reason I'm running. As a parent of 3 Lynn Public School kids, it has been really hard for me over the last 4 years to watch our school committee members advocate so hard for our families and kids and teachers in Lynn, to see them try and make positive changes for them, and to not be able to because they are often on the losing end of a 3-4 vote. I want to be their 4th vote.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Rick Stabbard. I'm currently seeking my 3rd term as a member of the Lynn School Committee. I'm a lifelong Lynn resident, been married to my wonderful wife, Lois, for the past 27 years. Together we have 2 beautiful daughters. My daughter Stephanie is currently a student at Bridgewater State University. My oldest daughter Jess just graduated Northeastern University. Both attended Lynn Public Schools from K through 12. For the past 30 years I've owned Rick's Auto Collision and Service in Revere, a company I started 2 years after I graduated from Lynn Tech. During those years, I was fortunate enough to spend 13 and a half years as a collision repair instructor at Tech, a job that I really loved. It was that employment that prompted me to seek election to the school committee 2 terms ago. I thought that my teaching experience with the vocational perspective and my business experience would help me bring a perspective to the school committee that didn't exist. Thank you.
Stanley.
Hello, my name is Stanley Watering. First things first, I'd like to wish happy birthday to my 2 kids, Trivy, who's in the audience, and Asia. It's their 15th birthday. They're 15 years old and have only been in the same school one time for 1 year in all that time. And it has given me a wide range of experience of different schools. I got a ride here tonight, but I was going to take my campaign bus, but I found out there was no parking, so I sent it on to Haymarket Station. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from around here, but I've lived in Massachusetts for 16 years, and I have a blog, Lynn School Watch, which currently has almost 280,000 hits. I've been doing it for 3 years, so my views and opinions are way out there. And I'd like to bring a different perspective to the Lynn's public schools.
Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. Now you've met candidates for school committee. We want to remind you at home that you're going to be electing 6 of these outstanding individuals when you go to the polls. We're going to be asking them a series of questions tonight, and we also want to encourage you, the viewers, to be prepared to call in later tonight at 781-596-9641 to ask your specific questions in segment 3 of the program. Our first question tonight, it's a short one, 30 seconds. We would like you to discuss the importance of the Marshall School referendum, which is coming up next week, and we would give everybody a chance to answer that. We started with Pat last time. Maybe we'll start with Donna and continue up.
Okay.
And then go back to Pat. Last but not least.
It is very important that the City of Lynn and their voters really get together and come behind that. Our schools are in really tough shape. Their teachers work hard within them, but the buildings themselves are deteriorating. And I know, as a person who had kids that went to classical on the Common, and I lived only 2 blocks from the brand new classical, what a difference it made in the neighborhood. People started building houses there. They were also, anytime a house went up for sale, it sold quickly because it made a difference in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I believe that it's so important to have Marshall building because we know that it took too many years for us to try to get the MBSB to approve. Then, if we don't have Marshall done, we're going to have a problem with the other schools. We're going to be out of the list. So September 17, please say yes. It's not going to take any money from us, as the mayor said. So we need to vote yes for Marshall. It's no question. Oh, okay. Cheers.
You know, the strength of our schools is in our students and our teachers, but many of our buildings are deteriorating. And right now, Marshall is one of those buildings. On the September primary election ballot, voters will have a chance, and I urge them to vote yes to support the building of a new Marshall Middle School. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, not the taxpayers of Lynn, will be footing the bill for the lion's share of this, and there's been a great deal of community input. I and Councilor Dan Cahill knocked the doors in that neighborhood to get input from the voters, to get input from the neighbors on this school. Folks should be excited about it in that neighborhood and throughout the city.
I am so happy that the council voted yesterday to put the question to the voters of Lynn. This school is so essential to us. It opens up the pipelines for all the other schools. Like, for example, Pickering. That's the next school on the list. So we get Thurgood Marshall made, and then we move towards Pickering. Then I believe it's Tracy. I'd like to keep this line of communication transparent. No one could be, that's okay. Thank you.
This vote is critical to the city's needs. I don't think any people realize how short on classrooms and space within the schools we are right now. When we walked through Marshall with the MSBA, they said it was one of the 2 worst schools they ever saw in the state. We need schools now. We blew it with classical. We haven't had a new school started in Lynn since 1999. Right now, Pickering and Tracy both hinge on the fact that we get a new Marshall built. We're going to have an additional 1,000 kids by the time Marshall opens.
I agree as well that building Marshall is a very good thing. Like everyone has said before me, that opens the doors for Pickering and Tracy and then all of the other schools that we have in Lynn that are literally crumbling. What I have heard from a lot of residents is the concern because of what had happened with Lynn Tech being open to administration and not students, the Fallon building being left empty, classical sinking. So we should build Marshall. We should have tremendous amount of oversight to make sure that it's done correctly, so that Pickering can be done correctly, so that Tracy can be done correctly, and then all of the rest of our schools. Thank you.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I don't know if you can zoom in on that. And I could go through a bunch of pictures that I have from the bricks that are separating from the building. This one is a smart board, which almost all the classrooms have. They keep it covered in plastic to protect it from the leaking skylights in that classroom. We could go on and on and on how bad this school is. That is a gaping hole in the ceiling with a trash can underneath it, collecting the water that leaks from that building. Again, I could go on this topic for 2 hours of how bad this school is and how bad others are. Please vote to pass this bond.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to back the trend here. Everybody, we need new schools. There's no question. They're in bad shape. However, I think it's not been presented well enough that the bond will never pass. And I have shown an email that a lot of the thinking that went into building this site was that they wanted to keep possible Section 8 people out of there. I've got the email. I'll show it to anyone that wants to see it.
Patrice?
Yes, critical is the word. If education is the backbone of any community and that what makes a community thrive, then this new school is vital to the education of our students. We would not want those students sitting in the building trying to reach their peak of education in those conditions. It's not something that the citizens of Lynn would ever want to see. If we don't support this, we still need the building. That building is not worthy of students, so it will be 100% burden to us citizens of Lynn, whereas if we support the bond, we will have an 80% reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no question that the community has a reason to go out and vote their wish around this referendum, and thank you for articulating the importance of it for our city. Outside of the Marshall School, what would you say is another important issue facing the Lynn school system? And I think for that, we're going to start with Maria Carrasco, please, and then move down and go back and end again with Ms. Coppola.
Most of the time when we go out and hear from parents, most of the time what they talk to me is about communication, lack of communication between school and parents. Also, parents don't get involved because they don't feel welcome in the school. Translation is another issue, and interpreter. And we know many people really, they talk about building because as a school committee, we see the building in bad shape. But parents are talking about communication. They are talking about feel welcome to the school. They talk about transparency. And they talk about interpreter. They need interpreter. They need to feel welcome and more after school program if it's possible.
Thank you. And I really quickly, Saoirse, I just wanted to let you know you'll have a minute and a half on this one, so don't feel as rushed. Do you have any?
Oh, I didn't know.
You have a little more time. Do you want to finish, add anything, Maria? I can time you.
I think that most of the time parents ask for if one program is working one school, why they have to take it off that program without talking to parents, without it's more than anything communication, how that process is working in the school system, that sometimes making decisions without even talk to parents, teachers, and students, because we have high school students who can even express the opinion. And that is the key that I see in many parents and teachers and students talking about. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Charlie.
Mr. Gallo?
Thank you. One of the most important issues facing the Lynn Public Schools is funding, and that's because without adequate funding, we can't ensure smaller class sizes, proper student-to-teacher ratios. We can't build or improve schools or ensure that supplies and textbooks are purchased. Now, in this economy, it's very difficult to ask working families to have their taxes raised to pay for these items. So what I've tried to work on the school committee is a creative way to raise money. As chairman of the grant subcommittee of the Lynn School Committee, I passed a new grant initiative. We actually have an outside fundraiser now looking to businesses, looking to charities, looking to foundations to provide funds to support our students and support our schools. Right now, we're working on after-school STEM programs for our elementary students, and soon we'll be working on performance arts programs for our high school students, all through outside grant funding and private donations so that we can ensure proper funding without burdening the taxpayer.
Thank you, Charlie.
I would like to look into initiatives for science. I love teaching science, and middle school science is my passion right now because that probably is the most difficult test there is on the MCAS. There's elementary schools. The problem is that they're not learning their science curriculum or standards to move into the middle school, and then they go on to the high school and they need to pass that test. So I would like to solidify someone to be hired as the assistant director to science and then help them with the initiatives to get science, especially in the middle school, aligned to the standards so that all the students in our district, not just bits and pieces of students in our district, they'll learn science facts and they'll move on and do well. And that's what I hope.
Thank you.
As I stated earlier, I emphasize the fact that I think the most critical issue right now is space within the schools. But that being said, I think the second most important issue is parental involvement. I don't think I can emphasize enough how important it is to get parents involved and interested in their child's education and to work with the children. We've done a great job, I think, at the Ford School, the Connery, and the Harrington School with getting the parents into the schools and involved. We have made some great strides in the past year doing this, getting parent involvement, but I think it's something we really have to continue to work at. I know my daughter's teacher saying that there are times when they'll have parent-teacher night and very few parents will show up. And I think we really have to somehow get more and more parents involved in their child's education.
Thank you.
I think that reading is one of the most important things that we can address as a school committee, specifically because Lynn's reading proficiency rate at the 3rd grade level, according to the 2012 MCAS, is 41%. So that means about 60% of our 3rd graders are not being found proficient in reading on the MCAS. What I found is that a lot of the schools don't have phonics-based, scientifically based, or peer-reviewed reading programs. When my children were going to school at the reading level, I would look into their reading programs and find out that they were the least expensive or that they had no scientific backing. And thankfully, my son went to Druitt's and he was able to access the Wilson's program where they taught him a totally different alphabet. The Wilson's alphabet goes A, apple, ah, B, bat, buh, C, cat, cuh. And my other kids didn't get that because they didn't have the exposure to Wilson's. I also think compliance is a really big issue. We pay $110,000 salary to a compliance officer that's mandated by the Office of Civil Rights because we were found non-compliant in translation and interpretation services. We're also non-compliant in having school improvement councils. That's $110,000 that could have gone to direct services for our kids. I also think that transparency is a really big part of this, and so is parent involvement. And it's not just parent involvement on the parent side, but parent involvement on the school side. Today was my son's first day of school, and I got a call from his reading teacher saying how great he had done over the summer with his reading and how great he was in class today and how engaged he was. And it was really exciting, and it made me want to be more engaged.
Thank you.
I think one of the major issues that face the Lynn school system is the kids come to school not ready to learn, especially at an early age. Many of us, from the time our kids are born, we read to them every night. But socioeconomic conditions and limited English proficiency in many of the parents forbid that from happening. I think that we need to do a better job reaching out to the adults and teaching them how to be proficient in English. It's something that a lot of groups are doing with success, but we just don't have enough of them. We need parents to be working with their kids when they leave school. They're only in school 6 hours a day, and they're only there 180 days a year. The rest of that time is spent at home, and we need to make sure that they're prepared to learn when they walk in the school doors every day. And I think that's one of the major factors that are facing the Lynn public school systems.
Yeah, I think the major problem is we need to divert the large percentage of our resources from the administration into the classroom. We have, I think, over 26 people making over $100,000 a year. Most of our kids will never see these people, and you would have to make an appointment to go see them. You know, and we have, my son went to Pickering this year, and his social studies textbook had the Soviet Union in it. You know, that's terrible. And I think, you know, we really should look into it. Like, Marshall has a great Facebook page, and people can get information very easily. And it is free. You know, now I heard that the Lynn Public Schools have hired a public relations firm to get the word out. Well, you know, you can do it online, very free, and you don't have to spend all that money. And that would help with transparency and communication. I'm done.
Thank you. Yep, thanks. Patricia?
For me, the roles and needs of the schools are many. But we always have to know, at the end of the day, any decision, any program, any statement made has to be geared towards maintaining and increasing achievement. The roles of a school committee member are few, but they have a magnitude of effect on our system. We are to hire or terminate the superintendent. It is employed upon us as a committee that we work together, that we have a common goal. We all know how vital goals are. This committee needs to come forward with goals. This past committee is what we did. We spent a good portion of 2 years setting goals for the superintendent, because without a vision, without goals, without knowing where you direct 15,000 students, you become turmoil, or you become little offsprings of a good idea, and it doesn't become system-wide. The most important thing this board can do is know its roles, communicate its roles, so that the system from the superintendent to the classroom has a direction and has a vision, and the end goal must always be student achievement.
We have a lot of things that we need to do to improve what we're doing in the school system. Communication is a huge thing. Communicating, especially with our families and our parents. We have a lot of parents that are English as a second language. We need to help to educate them with night classes, not just GED and ESL for themselves, but also to learn what we expect of their children, what MCAST is all about, how to help them with their homework if they're not able to, how we can help them with their homework. We definitely need to find the money for extended days, for programs for our kids. We really have just one school that's really a full community school, and that's the Ford School. And of course, my fear is she retires and that all the good programs that are up there are eliminated. Instead, we should be putting those through in other schools. The communication piece is very, very important. If we don't get it out, we can put all the goals we want on paper. But if it doesn't happen and it doesn't come forward, that becomes the problem. And also, improving on the curriculum that we use. It should always be changing. If something isn't working, whether it's reading programs, it's math programs, it's science programs, let's work on changing it and finding something else.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, well, we are about to go to a break and we'll come back, but I wanted to remind everyone that later on, if you are tuning in, you'll have an opportunity to call in with questions. And again, the number is 781-596-9641. There'll be time for that, as well as audience in the studio to ask questions, but we'll be back after this break with more from our moderators and our guests. Thanks.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great authentic Italian food.
Hi everyone, welcome back to tonight's forum with the school committee candidates. Thank you so much for tuning in. And with me again, I have Al DiVirgilio, former mayor, as one of our moderators, as well as Magnolia Contreras, director at Dana-Farber Institute in Boston. So thank you both for being here. Thank you to all of our candidates and for our in-studio audience as well. We were asking some questions before the break, and now we're coming back with some more moderator questions. And on this next topic, you will each have a minute to answer, and I believe they will probably be starting
With Magnolia.
Magnolia will start with asking, and then she'll pick who's next.
I believe it's Mr. Gallo.
I think so.
One of the things that, and many of you alluded to, the focus around engaging parents and improving communications with parents and issues around transparency. And I think one of the things that we are interested in understanding is what would you do or how would you engage a component of your role in the school committee to address the needs of some of those immigrant families that are coming? How would you help those families engage in the system? Many of them have to go through the Parent Information Center. And that's a captive audience when they register their kids, and you know who they are, and we know how to engage with them. What would you do in attempting to address some of their language needs, as well as education around citizenship and issues related to engagement? We think that that's a question that really gets at the other piece. We're focused on the kids, but we are looking at how do we engage the entire family, and from your role, what would you do in that regard? And you have about a minute to answer that, and I'd like to start with Mr. Gallo.
Thank you for the question. As a number of us said, it's critical that we're responsive to the parents and neighbors and community members, that we're open, that we're transparent. That goes for new American families, immigrant families, and it goes for families who have been here for generations. And I've done that by responding to telephone calls, responding to emails, being available to meet face-to-face whenever I'm asked to do so. The night I declared my candidacy in 2011, I called for meetings to be televised. They weren't at that time. During that campaign, school committee meetings became televised, and when I got to the committee, I took it a step further. They're now broadcast and archived online, so parents of immigrant families and parents of families who have been here for generations can see what we're doing on the school committee. In addition to that, we as school committee members, and I do, go to a myriad of events, both in the schools and throughout the community, where you talk to parents, talk to neighbors, and hear their concerns. Particularly on the citizenship issue, I mentioned in the opening that I worked to establish the Lynn Community Enrichment Evening Program at Tech. We're teaching citizenship and English, as well as Spanish in that program.
Well, I'm not on the school committee yet, but I do know that when immigrants first come into the city of Lynn, they go through the process of determining their level of language. They take this access test, and that is where you would put them according to their ability as far as students are concerned. What I find is a lot of students that are FLEP students, meaning they were former SEI students. And SEI students, sheltered English immersion students, they usually do the translation for the parents and help, the student helps the child. Helps the parent to understand what is going on. I think that our teachers are outstanding in the fact that they truly care about these students.
Every year we make changes at the Parent Information Center to make it more accessible to newcomers coming into the city. We have translators available, translation devices. Now we have 8, and we're going to currently expand it to 16. But I think the key, in my opinion, would be reaching out through the different ethnic communities to their leaders to encourage more engagement within that community. They're very, very clannish, and they tend to stick together in their own groups. And I think it's very important to get each individual group engaged and into the schools. And I open houses where they encourage parents to participate and come forward. Have worked a little bit better in the last year than they ever have in the past.
Thanks. I'd love to see liaisons, possibly volunteered from the community at the Parent Information Center. Someone, maybe a mentoring program where community members, families that have been here and immigrated successfully, meet with new immigrating families and people that will speak their own language and come from their own culture, live in their community, possibly even have kids at the same school. I'd love to see a more diverse group of teachers hired, teachers from different cultures and speaking different languages, so that they can actually speak to these parents when they come from different countries and speak different languages. I'd love to see the Parent Information Center have up-to-date information on English classes, including things like contact information and number of openings or wait lists, so that they could encourage families to enroll in English classes. I'd love to see them do the same thing with the citizenship classes. I've worked one-on-one with families who were learning English and taking the citizenship classes. It's very difficult. And I'd love to see our non-immigrant families have access to voter registration information at the Parent Information Center. Thank you.
A lot of the problem with parents interacting with the school department or any government body for that matter is the fact that they're uncomfortable with it. They're uncomfortable with it in the countries that they come from. So what we as school committee members, as any public official needs to do is to get involved with the many organizations that exist around the city, the Lynn Parents for a Better Education, the Iraqi groups, the Haitian groups, and come to their events, sponsor their events so they know you're giving your time, giving your money. They get to know you. They see you in a place where they're comfortable and they become more comfortable with you. And I think as elected officials, that is one of the duties that we have.
I think Rick has very good points. It is incumbent upon us to reach out to them and encourage them to ask for help. As school committee members, that is, of course, we are the utmost person responsible, but I think it's important for that to translate down to the school principals to make them more engaged with the community, the families. The Forest School is a wonderful example of a community school. They've got like 40-some languages there, and they, do pretty good. And so we need to be studying them to see what they're doing and what works. And again, I just finally want to echo Rick's statement. We need to actually be out and involved in the community and, building relationships.
Parent involvement has been a forever question as long as I've been on the committee and as long as I've been a parent. And for many years, it was pretty stale, pretty basic, pretty hands-back approach where parents were task-driven or maybe fundraising-driven. But I think a new energy has certainly come in the city of Lynn. We understand through education that parents need to grasp. They have to hold hands with our students and learn in education. And we've done things, and it's done newly. Our PIC Center, which was mentioned, we've increased our hours. We are open longer days. We are open with increased staff. We are opened Tuesday evenings. So there is the attempt there to make us accessible. And in the PIC Center, we have the translation, and we have available equipment and personnel to help parents navigate through that. Other things that we're doing is a new initiative that's come through, and we've made tremendous gains with the wraparound zone that we may have heard. And that wraparound zone is multiple community agents coming together to know what's right for their school and their parents.
The reason partly that we've have looked at and made some changes in the PIC Center is because there are problems there. Parents come in there and they have problems registering their children. They have problems getting information. And so changes have been made, but there's always still room for improvements there. One of the things that I think that is important is there are groups out in our community, nonprofits especially, that work with a lot of the families in the community that are interested in putting in a resource center. And, you know, they're always out looking for a site. I think the perfect site is in the Parent Information Center myself, where all the nonprofits could put their information there and really educate our workers in the PIC Center so that they could help the students.
Yes, as a member of President of New Link Coalition, we were working very hard to get that information center in the LynnTech. It was difficult to get. It was so difficult because we believe that public school building should be used after school hours, should be used for the community. And for some reason, the superintendent just created the enrichment program with a little English as a second language. We were also working those issues because we are helping people with the money, because the superintendent was charging people money, so whoever didn't have money, we pay for that. One another thing that I have is community resource. I have a book where I see people coming and they need something. It doesn't matter if it's English or something that they need. I send them to the direct places where they have to go. And before I send it, I call to see if that phone number is still active. One thing that I have to say that we have, as a New Link Coalition, we send people also to Operation Bootstrap. Oh, God.
You'd have an, and that was it, right?
That was it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness around that question. Mr. Virginia.
Excellent answers from all of you, and excellent honesty, and I compliment you on that. Very educational for, I think, us as well as the listening audience. The next question, I'm going to make it kind of like a two-part question, because the question that was submitted to us, the current budget is $4.4 million short of the required school spending. Do you think the mayor should fund that money right now? And I don't really think there's that much you can discuss about it, but you can tell us yes or no, or you can discuss it further if you want. The second part, from listening to everybody talk in the last question, Google has a free program that everybody can tap into. And I was wondering if you might consider having in-service programs that would train your teachers and your secretaries how to use the Google translation, where they have, I think, about 20 languages. I know when I'm in other countries, I have my laptop with me and I can go to Google and I can type it in English and transfer it, and I tell the individual, type it in their language, and we go back and forth. And maybe that's something that could be utilized, and what your thoughts might be in doing something like that. So 2 parts, and we begin with Lorraine, I believe.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1 minute to answer. Answer the first part first, and if you have time for the second, that's great. We're talking about the mayor's budget being short $4 million, $4.4 million. Do you think the mayor should fund that money right now?
I'm not quite sure if the mayor has the money. If she has it, then she should fund it. It shouldn't be just sitting there idle. We need the money. We should use that money. Not all of it. If there's a little bit left, you can save it. I don't know. I just have to say I'm not familiar with that at all.
Okay, and the second part was about Google translating and in-service training on it.
I think Google in-service training would be sort of interesting with teachers. I myself had to take the retail course that's mandated by the state on English language learners, and even though I knew an awful lot about it, I'm always open to new things, and I learned a little bit more, and I really appreciated that course, even though it was hard, very difficult. But I think that Google free programs with the 20 languages, I think that that would be good, because then people could have flip sides. They could see how difficult it is to learn a new language, and they could also communicate with the teachers or communicate with the parents in their native language. So
Mr. Ford.
I've already spoken to the mayor and to the superintendent about the net school spending issue, and I asked that if the money is not available now, that at least we indicate that the money would be available in January. At that point in time, you can pay You can pay the money now. It's a case of pay me now, pay me later. You can pay the money now, and then once you got the money in January, use it towards the rest of the year's budget. This is something that I checked with DSS's, the finance office, and they said this can be done. As far as the Google translation, I would think we would possibly recommend it to the teachers, maybe through Mr. Duncan, and see if they wanted to get involved in that. It's certainly a good tool, but there's so much that's mandated of teachers right now. I'd like to leave it up to them to make the choice.
I actually don't agree that the mayor should fund it right now. I think we should wait and see if we actually need the funds. And this is specifically because when we had leftover money in our circuit breaker funds, that was leftover money from special education that wasn't spent, the superintendent used that money to make new administrative salaries and new administrative positions. These positions weren't created before, and that money was like a one-time thing. So I feel like we should wait and see if we actually need the money instead of taking it away from direct services for our kids. I love Google Translate. Part of my job is I do outreach work in families' homes, and a lot of my families don't speak English. I pull out Google Translate on my smartphone and I type in what I'm talking about. It's really hard to help them advocate for their kids when you don't speak their same language, and a lot of people in my field don't speak all the languages of the people that we serve. So I love Google Translate. Thank you.
Not meeting net school spending could always be a little bit of a slippery slope. A lot of people don't know how the Lynn Public School System is funded, but it's pretty much 100% funded through Chapter 70 money, meaning it's all coming from the state. I certainly don't want to see the state pull back if they're looking at it and they know whether or not we met net school spending, and have them pull back on that money. Many of the suburban districts are fighting now over the way that Chapter 70 money is allocated throughout the state, and they think that they're not getting what they consider their fair share. And so unless it's being held for uses within our buildings, school buildings, that's allowable under Chapter 70 funding, I think that we really need to meet net school spending. As far as Google Translate or anything else, I have a Translate app in my tablet here, and they're great. I don't think it's a matter of, we need to allow. I think that we just need to make teachers aware and let them make the decision whether or not they feel that that'll be useful in their classroom.
Stanley?
Okay, I hesitate to, give $4 million to them to spend right now. Melissa mentioned the circuit breaker money that became available. They spent it all on salaries and creating a deputy superintendent position. And ever since they did that, we used to be top of the commissioners' districts of urban schools. Now we're second. And we've actually went backwards since we got the extra deputy superintendent. I think it's good just to maybe take a minute back and actually think about it. As far as Google Translate, what are we talking about? It's free. Let them do it. Free is good rather than paying for somebody to do this. This is crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia?
Yes, the never-ending net school spending is on the city budget. It's mayor versus superintendent, and I will say that the superintendent has been very diligent with her spending. She has done the budget from classroom out. The mayor is very diligent and very tight-stringed with her budget. She has kept Lynn in a safety zone for the amount of money that for our city. She has kept us in a very healthy state of the budget for the city. So when we look at the $4.1 million, as long as the state's formula matches the city needs and we do not lose funding, I believe that that net school spending will iron it out between the mayor and the superintendent, and it will come to us when it becomes true. As far as the Google translation program, I think teachers are very in tune to what's going to help them. They would individually reach out to make any one of their students successful. The system, on the other hand, has also, because we've been required to do, as was stated, the RETEL, it's a program for teachers to help the English language learners, and we're offering that free in the system.
Actually, we had no layoffs, so that was a good thing. And when we don't charge for student athletic fees, so right now I'm not satisfied that everything that a student needs is available in this budget. But I do feel as though if there was money, that we should be looking at expanding on things that parents are interested in for their students. We're talking extended days, we're talking about improving curriculum, things like that. So my concern would be that if they got the money, that they would be spending it in some ways, they have to be thinking out what they're doing rather than just creating new jobs. And the second thing, as far as the Google goes, I think it's really important, especially for the secretaries. I still hear that there are students that are called out of classrooms to interpret, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think that, we should, in service, especially our office help, to understand it and use it.
Related to the 4.4 million that we are short, I believe that we already had a budget. We have we are reducing the overcrowded in the classroom. We don't want to spend or have more money that we are not going to spend. And yes, if we have money, that is the case, I would like the money for direct services. I mean, more classrooms, if that is the case. If that is not the case, so I don't believe that I'm going to agree with the money bring back from the city to the Department of Education. Google is a good system. I use Google all the time. But for teachers, yes, I know that teachers are human beings. They've been so busy doing too many testing. They have been doing too many extracurricular for the students that believe that they have time. The situation is when parents come into the office, because really teachers don't need Google in the classroom.
Thank you. The question posits a very specific number, $4.1 million shortage in net school spending. Now, net school spending involves a complex formula, and folks can disagree as to whether there's been over or under spending. I voted for the budget this year and last year on my first term on the school committee. The budgets included no layoffs. They included openings of classrooms and reopenings of schools, not closings of schools, not closings of classrooms. They included adding teachers and adding support, not layoffs. So if there's more money from the city side, I certainly would love to see some of it go to the schools, but I think that we're doing the best we can right now to keep our schools in good shape and to provide the best education we can to our students. In terms of Google Translate, I should note for our viewers that the Lynn Schools website actually includes Google Translate right now. In terms of training teachers, I think it's a great idea, but first and foremost, we need to let our teachers teach. If there's going to be additional training requirements, additional classes in Google Translate, I think we need to be sure the teachers have a voice in how that's done, to be sure that we work with the union and with teachers to be sure it's done in a way that's effective and that doesn't impede their ability to teach, which is the most important job they have.
All right, everyone, so that was the answer to the two-part question from Al, and we actually are going to open up to the audience that's in studio today for some questions right now. And then I just want to reiterate to everyone at home, we will have time also coming up to take calls. So the number again is 781-596-9641, and we ask those of you calling in a little later to be patient, as we do have a couple people here in studio to hear from first. So I want to open it up to anyone from the audience that has a question. I see one hand up. If you want to, and another hand up. Why don't we go with you first? If you come up to the microphone and just say your name and if you have anyone specific that the question's for, or if you were sort of addressing everyone, let them know, please.
Hello, my name is Stanley Watering, also known as Trippy. Today's my birthday, and my dad's running for school committee, and I'm representing the Heinz Coalition. I have a question for all the candidates. What is your vision for the Lynn Public Schools?
Their vision?
Yeah.
So is it
Yes.
like their, you want to be a little more specific, just so they know like their ideal?
Like pretty much, what do you see in the next like in your guys' next term for your vision?
Okay. Can start with Maria, I guess, because she's ready. Yeah.
Well, because my vision is to see our district without no level 4 schools, to see no level 3 schools, to see how can they, we are preparing a lot of teachers, and I believe that we go to the right direction. My vision also is to see, I don't know when, but more teachers and principals to reflect the population of our community. We have almost 15,000 students, and the majority of the students are minority. And that people who work in the school system doesn't reflect that population. So that end, again, my vision is to see more parents engaged with the school system so they can feel welcome.
Anyone else? Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you. My vision is for a quality education for all Lynn Public School students, for our Lynn students to graduate, feel that they've gotten a good education, and be proud to then send their own children, their students, to Lynn Public Schools. You know, we have a great history here in Lynn, and it's important we honor our past. But right now, one of the problems in Lynn is that young people are moving out faster than they're moving in. And we need to try to reverse that trend, starting in the schools, by providing a good education and that they get a diploma that they're proud of, that they want to raise a family here, work here, and send their students to the Lynn Public Schools. One of the things that made my candidacy a little unique the first time I ran is that I was in my 20s. And as the youngest school committee member, have tried to provide some leadership to reverse that trend, to try to help students know that they have a voice, even when they're students, that they can give back, and that they should look forward to continuing in Lynn and be proud of their education here in Lynn and be proud to send their kids to the Lynn Public Schools. That's my vision.
Just so you all know, when it reaches about a minute, I'm gonna ding this because we just want to keep it on time. So that's the only reason. So anyone else ready to answer that? Go ahead, Patricia. Yeah. Patricia.
My vision is what everyone would expect. We want our education to bring a graduate that is a quality member of our community, that person is equipped with a great foundation. And to have a great foundation, you need to have strong literacy skills. Though you need many other things, our literacy skills are the foundation of our students. I would like to see our early childhood programs continue and to grow. I would like to see pre-K grow. I would like to see our all-day K programs continue to grow. I would like to see that our reading competency starts early and maintains its growth throughout the 12 years here in Lynn Public Schools. And I would like to continue to know that we work in a goal-oriented state.
Donna?
Well, I still think that what we're doing as school committee people is to continue to have our students improve, whether it's MCAS or however, but getting into colleges, less dropout rates is really important. And I don't think people are not, young families are not moving in here because our student population is almost at 15,000 students. So we have plenty of families moving in here, and they're not necessarily all in preschool. You know, they may be coming, moving in from areas like East Boston. They may be coming from other countries. So I think that we may have to look at, you know, what we need to give for services. And we need to educate people. If we have a lot of people moving in who aren't used to the Lynn school system, we really need to take time to communicate and give them the tools they need to understand what we're asking of the kids.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rick.
One of my biggest visions is to see more modern, safe educational facilities that are properly equipped for today's students and teachers. When we set these kids out, they have to compete. And they have to compete with kids from surrounding communities when they go to college, when they go for jobs. And we need to have facilities that are properly equipped to educate kids to compete. We need to have facilities that they're safe in, that the heat doesn't break down on, that the power doesn't go out on, that's open to the communities. I think that the plans for the new Marshall accommodate just that. Open up for the community, open up for all kinds of programs that aren't available in the middle schools right now. And we need to carry that on throughout the district.
Thank you. Who didn't answer yet? John.
As chairman of Building and Grounds, I have both a dream and a vision that within the next 12 years we have 4 schools in the pipeline. At least the Marshall, Pickering, Tracy, and Corbett. These are a must. We have to echo what Mr. Staubitz said, we have to provide quality buildings if we're going to have quality education. We can't have kids going to school where they're cold one day and hot the next day. We definitely need new schools in Lynn. And this is I think we also have to continue to provide quality education. And I would love to see our arts program under Mr. Picano continue. User-free, no user fees, and also our sports program and after-school programs continue with no user fees.
Okay. Who's left?
My vision of better quality public education begins with schools that tirelessly teach children to read. As a society, we learn to read, then we read to learn. Literacy is the greatest tool we can provide our children. Second, I want to see new, bright, colorful, safe learning centers that our community can take pride in and inspire our children. I want to see schools that are open late and on weekends for our families, providing classes in everything from English as a second language to fiscal responsibility to healthy family cooking. I'd like to see schools that prepare our children fully for secondary education of their choice. I'd like to see schools that every member of our community can access, regardless of disability or language spoken. I want Lynn to have schools that other communities would fight to have their kids in, and I think we can do it together. Thank you.
And I have left Lorraine and Stanley, so Lorraine.
I'd like to speak. My vision is, it goes along with the city's vision. As the city is developing and we're bringing people back to the city that moved out to the Beverleys or to the Marbleheads or wherever they moved to, and we get these new schools and our test scores increase because we're working really hard to bring back our scores. And I agree that my vision would be students. Every student will be able to pass any test and go on and go to college if they want to go to college, or go out into the career, go out into a field and be successful. And that's what I have vision for the students in Lynn.
Thank you, Lorraine. And Stanley, your son asked this great question.
I know, and I didn't tell him.
No, I know, it was a great question.
Yeah, thanks.
No, he did. He came up with it, but it was a great question.
My vision is we need to shift the focus back to the classroom, let the teachers teach, and stop this artificial belief that, we're so good because we're the best or near the best of all the urban schools. Diplomas don't come with an asterisk. Everybody is considered the same. So I think, how can we expect our students to respect our teachers when our administration doesn't respect our teachers?
Thank you, Stanley. A bunch of excellent answers to that young man's question. And so we now need to go to a break, but when we come back, we will have more time for some audience questions here as well as audience at home. Audience, again, if you're watching at home, it's 781-596-9641. We really hope that you do call in. We appreciate that you've tuned in, but just please bear with us as you wait your turns. And we'll be right back after this break. Thank you.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food.
20 seconds.
Hi everyone, welcome back. So you are tuned in tonight to LynnCAM TV with the City's Voice presenting a town hall forum with our school committee candidates. Again, our moderators tonight are the former Mayor Al DiVirgilio and Magnolia Contreras, director at the Dana-Farber Institute, Cancer Institute in Boston. So great having both of you here, and what a great job everyone's been doing tonight, so thank you for being here. To the audience in the studio, if you have a question, if you'd like to come up and ask, and if you could maybe pick 3 candidates that you primarily want to, oh, excuse me, sorry. I have to take a call first, then we'll come right back. So whoever's next, think about who you'd like to ask. On the line, we have April. And April, thanks for calling in.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question. Often we hear talk about the schools, what they're doing for the general population. But 17% of our student population are in special education programs, and a high percentage of those students don't pass the MCAS, which as a result, they don't receive a diploma. So what is the number one thing that you think the district could do for these children to directly help them improve their MCAS scores so that they could receive a diploma instead of aging out at age 22?
Thank you so much, April. In order to meet this time frame, we're going to do 30 seconds on this. I know that's tight, but that's the only way I can get you all in. So, Rick, you want to start?
I know at Tech, when I was there, there was the waiver process. It was strict requirements whether or not you were granted a waiver based on attendance and effort and all throughout the system. That is one thing that's there now as an option.
Okay, great. Thank you. Melissa, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I actually have children that are on IEPs, and they had a really hard time passing their MCAS. I don't think actually until this year or last year they actually did pass. I think one of the things that we really need to do is we need to provide the teachers with the supports that they need to follow their individual education plans. A lot of what I saw was that the plans weren't being followed, the accommodations weren't being put into place. I was being told that there wasn't funding. I was being told that that service didn't exist or that the child couldn't get it. I think if we do what's in their plans and we write really good plans with measurable goals, that we'll be able to help our kids pass our MCAS. The largest population of our special ed kids are the kids over at the Fallon building, and they have the worst MCAS rate.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I believe the first thing we should do is look into changing the MCAS process. You have situations where there are people that don't have a chance. For example, a new student coming in within 30 days has to take an MCAS test. We have people that can't pass the MCAS, and that shouldn't be the only criteria. We've got level 4 and level 3 schools based on MCAS scores. The playing field isn't level across the state, and it should be made level. I think that's the first area we should address.
Thank you.
How I help students with the special ed pass MCAS test or work with them is when I became lead science teacher, for example, at Pickering Middle School, I embraced the special ed program. I handed out any equipment that they would need to help those students to understand the concepts. That concept usually is visual. They need visualization to see what it means. The second thing I implemented while I was teaching is I did a 6-week prep after school, 1 night a week, all the teachers to review past test questions, and that helped.
Thank you.
Thank you. To ensure a quality education for our special education students, I think we need to ensure that the students themselves have the extra help and the resources that they need. We need to ensure that the teachers have the resources that they need to teach these students. And we also need to be responsive to the parents, to listen to their suggestions and their concerns. In terms of MCAS scores, I do want to say that scores are not the only measure of a quality education. As a new school committee member, I did walkthroughs of almost all of the schools in Lynn, visited classrooms. I even shadowed a student at Lynn Classical High School. And it's not easy to measure, it's not as easy to measure as numbers, but there you see whether there's a quality education by going in and taking a look at the students and teachers in the schools.
NCAPS is so difficult for regular students that I was reading on the Department of Education, a website, when they said that they have some kind of tools for special education. So I don't know if teachers know about that. Maybe they know. But kids who are special, they need to visualize, as Lorraine said. It's not the regular education that we provide to students in general. Teachers need to have the tools. And I believe that if we, as a parents, they need to fight for what they believe their children deserve.
In regards to the special ed, Melissa is right. The plans have to be written so that they work for the child that is on that plan. And there are times when maybe staff or teachers can't be relieved from classrooms because they're teaching in the classroom, and that's when the time has been set to write the plan. The important piece, if the teacher is going to be the one to implement it, are you serious? Oh. If they're going to implement that plan, they should be part of that and be there in the process. Many times you'll hear parents say that it was just themselves and a chairperson there. You know, you have to have a team of people who really can help that child. And I think it's important to be tested. It shows where our students are.
How many times are you going to ring? Sometimes I hate the bell ringer. I got to tell you, I hate it, but I want to make sure you all get to go. So. And Stanley's hungry.
As a parent of a student that was on an IEP from early intervention right through the 22-year transition program, I understand in hindsight a lot that needed to be done. But the number one thing is to maintain your parent advocacy. Know your student's IEP, understand the needs of your student, and be sure that your teacher understands the need of your child. That teacher will then know that she or he needs the tools to meet those needs. We as a committee need to know that the teachers have those tools to meet those needs. But the caller also asked what number one piece would be, and I think the number one piece is that marginal student inclusion. Inclusion in a classroom maintains regular ed, which always will support the growth of a special ed student.
Thank you. And Stanley, last but not least.
That was good. I agree with the inclusion aspect of it because, special ed kids have to go out in the real world, and IEPs are critical and they must be followed, and there does need to be a team effort. Standardized testing, I could go on and on about that, about what I think is good or not. I mean, I've scored highest and I've scored low on all kinds of tests.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. I know the game.
Laurie, hello. Welcome onto the show. We are running a little late, and we're glad you held on. We have other callers on hold, so we would like you to ask your question. And if you could name 3 or 4 specific candidates that you would like to answer the question.
Sure. I would like Melissa and Stanley and maybe Maria. My question is, what is your first priority if you're elected to the school committee?
Thank you. Excellent question. I'll start with Melissa, then we'll go to Maria, and then Stanley.
It's hard to pick just one.
I think my very first priority would be to start implementing some really good change, to start looking at making sure that our children are getting the direct services. My background's in special education. I want to make sure that our kids are getting the services they need. Again, reading. Our reading rate's at 41%. We can't educate our children if our children can't read. So I would say imposing a global reading program for our entire school system that's scientifically based, phonics based, peer reviewed, and just proven. That would be my number one goal.
Maria.
As many as I have many, but I have to say that more community schools, and I wish that that can be done. We need more community schools who is working around that need of its communities. We are talking about if we have a community who doesn't need English as a second language, at least can reading, use that building for meetings. We have building empty after a school is closed, and we believe that that buildings belong to the communities.
Stanley.
Okay, accountability. I would go over the budget line by line. I've been doing it for 3 years online, and I wanted to look at things the way they really are, not just some fantasy land. Accountability. And so that we can really see where we're at.
Okay, thank you, Stanley.
Mary, you're on the call. Welcome. Thank you for holding. Whom are you directing your question to?
Hello?
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Yes.
Hi, welcome. Whom are you directing your question to?
Rick Ford and, John Ford and Rick Starbutt. Asking, there was 4 choices to be made for where to build a new Marshall. What would you tell anybody, or how do you justify that Brookline Street was the best choice?
There was really only 3 choices. I think what you have to understand is Lynn is landlocked. The superintendent and the mayor actually drove around the city looking for properties, and there was only 3 choices. The current site, the Keeney Playground site, and the Brookline site. I originally was in favor of the Keeney site. I envisioned having a high school and a middle school in the same area, and I thought that was, as it is in Ward 7 with the Callahan and Breed, I thought it was a great idea. I mean, with the Classical and Breed. But the Keeney site was prohibited. The land was donated to the city of Lynn and can't be used. It was also going to be very expensive. The Brookline site was chosen because of cost, strictly cost.
Thank you.
I actually liked the Brookline site long ago, before it was even discussed. I had brought up the Brookline site, mainly because it was out of the way, off the main street, and most of the land was already leveled in preparation for a condo complex that was initially going in there before the economy collapsed. I thought when it was in foreclosure, it would have been a good time to get it. I originally had envisioned that with taking a little more property on the right side of the street as well. But by far, I thought it was the best, and it was the least invasive to the neighborhood as far as moving people out of their homes.
Thank you.
Young lady,
We have an audience.
you had a question, audience question? We don't want you to be left out. You should go up, state your name, and ask your question, and who you'd like to have answer it.
Okay, that's bright. My name's Laurie D'Amico. I guess I'll ask the question to Charlie, John, and Lorraine. Since 2010, the accountability and assistance level of 7 of our schools has declined. 5 of these schools have dropped to level 3 status. As a result, we now have 50% of our schools in level 3 status and 2 schools in level 4 status. And regardless of your feelings for MCAS, the fact is they are here, and this is what the state is judging us on. So what changes do you feel are necessary to ensure that our schools and student performance do not continue to decline and that they actually begin to improve?
Thank you. So,
Do you want me to answer right away?
Sure.
The thing that you have to understand with the levels of the schools is that the state had MCAS tests. Then they changed to a national core standards test. And when they made that change, we then, instead of having a CPI, Composite Performance Index, we have a PPI, which is the the performance. Could someone help me out here? PPI.
Even though you're not sure what it is, run out of time.
Oh, so anyway, so the PPI, and it's different. Like if you don't have certain increase in certain areas, like you don't go from needs improvement to proficient or proficient to advanced, then you don't get the points, so you drop down. But if you do, then you move up. So that's what was happening last year, and moving towards that. I think that the state, they're not happy with their MCAS test themselves.
You can say, yeah, Laura, of course. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you for the question, Lori. So when I was elected in 2012, we had 2 level 4 schools. Those are Connery and Harrington elementary schools. In the last term, none have slipped into the level 4 status, and Connery and Harrington are really turning around. It's a testament to the students themselves, it's a testament to the teachers, it's a testament to the parents, and also those schools are recipients of federal and state money because they fell into the level 4 status. Lynn's scores are generally improving. There's always room for more improvement, and they are generally improving. We are now at or near the top of all urban districts in the state in every measure. And as I said previously, scores are not the only thing that matters. Go into a school, go into a classroom, as I did at the start of my term, see that the teachers are able to teach, that the students are really learning, and that shows, I think, as much as about a quality education and whether a quality education is being provided as do scores on a piece of paper.
Perfect. Thank you, Charlie.
You can't totally discount the MCAS scores. I mean, the state, I think, is moving away from MCAS in that they guaranteed or touted there would be proficiency in English and math by the year 2014, and it's not going to happen. And so they're moving away from the MCAS scores. But I think we're on the right track. I think the things that we are doing within the Lynn school system is we're encouraging early education. We're attempting to open more kindergarten classes. We're reading. It's very important to get the reading level up, particularly in the lower grades, because my daughter's a reading teacher in the 7th grade, and she said it's really, it's almost too late when they get to the 7th grade to teach them how to read. But I think a major factor, and the state has to take a long, hard look, at changing the MCAS criteria. Also, it's not a good thing to throw resources at a level 4 school, then it's too late.
Thank you.
Other questions from the audience?
Alan,
you can stand up and ask 2 or 3 of the members.
Thank you. I'm Ellen
specified.
Morgan, and I belong to the Highland Coalition, and I have a couple of comments first, and then I have a question. I am very sad about Dr. Crane leaving Ford School. She's going to be totally missed by the neighborhood, by the children, and by the parents. And it's a disgrace that she's leaving. And I don't agree with this busting of the kindergarten students either, which is a cry. I mean, I have a really big bone to pick about that. But anyways, that's done and buried, so I don't have anything. I would like to know who is responsible for the decay of our schools. Why are they let go so long that they're irreparable? You can't repair them. Why?
could you pick a few people, or are there a few?
Maria, Stan, and Lorraine.
Okay.
In that order.
Maria, I'm sorry, and then who did she say?
Stan and Lorraine.
Oh, she means Rick? Or Stan, and then...
Helen, you said who is responsible for the chaos in the school systems?
The decay of the schools. The decay of the schools. And who's responsible for funding money to repair them?
Okay.
When they need to be repaired, not until they can't repair
Okay.
them.
Well, we have a department of inspection department who is responsible for that. I think the city is where the team is there. To tell you the truth, in my house, if I have a window that is going to be broke, I fix the window right away. I don't wait to have a major problem. If I have a leak in my roof, I fix the leak in the roof right away. I don't wait to see the leak and go more and more or try to cover the ceiling. So, yes, you're right. It's a lot of things that we said that due to the fact that we have a lot of old buildings. It's difficult to repair because it's electricity is something that you can boil. Sometimes it's so difficult to repair because they are too old and they don't have the same equipment.
So she also asked Stanley.
Okay, I'll go. I think the real problem is that we have the city, through inspectional services, trying to take care of the schools instead of the schools taking care of the schools. You know, the janitors in the schools are city employees. They can either work at a school or they get called out to the auditorium because there's a concert. They can't even turn up the thermostat in their own school. It's just ridiculous. And I think the school should have control of their own buildings.
Thank you. Lorraine?
It's a great question. How we could allow our buildings to deteriorate to the point that they are in. One of the things that you really have to understand is most of our monies, as we went through that recession period, as they were cutting and cutting and cutting, more money went on the students and trying to maintain the students' level of learning. And I think they just let that slip aside, you know, like they just let that slide. They now have the inspection department that goes around and they're fixing windows. I know finally after 7 years my Pickering windows got fixed, so I didn't hear crashing in between during storms. And I just found out that it probably came from state monies, and we just have to keep applying for the state money to keep our schools improving. But I think it was, in the beginning, we just started letting them deteriorate because we were focusing on the students, and they just let everything go lax.
Really quickly, if it's all right, I know you raised your hand very fast when it came up, so you and John, if you want to each just add something, because you're both already on.
It's a real bone of contention with me. Thank you for the opportunity to answer the question. I think that we, for whatever reason, kicked the can for far too long. We built LynnTech in 1972. We built Breed in 1978. We didn't build another new school in the city of Lynn from the ground up until we did classical 20 years later, and we screwed that up. And we haven't built another new school since. So, you know, now we've got this bite at the apple, and if we don't pass this bond vote, we're going to lose that too. And this is the first school, as John has said, and I've been saying constantly, the first of 4 schools to be built. We have to do it, and we cannot wait at this pace 2040 before we replace the worst of our 4 schools. We need to get moving now. This vote has to pass.
Do you have something to add, John?
This has no reflection upon inspectional services and what the job they're doing now. This, as Rick just said, this is because the city itself, from the mayor on down, in the past, just dropped the ball. We didn't build, nothing happened after 1999 with the Lynn Classical. We had an issue with that, and we didn't go forward. Lynn cannot solicit its own funds to build a school. They count on state funding, and we just did not go after. In fact, it's our current legislative delegation that went out and got us back in the pipeline for the Marshall School, and it's critical that we stay in that pipeline.
Thank you.
Other questions?
How many people did? Only 3 people didn't answer, right? Only 3 or 4 of you didn't. Go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think that we can't wait until schools need to be rebuilt. We should continue to keep on repairing and keep proper upkeep in all of our schools, even the newer ones. I think that the current school committee has done a pretty good job at that. We put in new boilers and new windows in some schools. This year, we've gotten state money to do windows at Breed and to do a roof over at Tech. So I think that we need to continue with the upkeep, not let our schools get into such a state of disrepair. And as I said, the current school committee, I think, has done a good job on that.
If I can just state the history of the decay, because it is history. And when the school department held the responsibility for building repair, we as a school department failed because we didn't take the time for building repair. We took the time, energy, and money for students. Since it has gone over to the ISD, Mike Donovan has probably 5 times the budget to help with repairs. We were so far behind that causes the obvious decay in our building. But in the last 5 years, we have gone probably from under $100,000 to well into the $1 million brackets to quickly and at least aesthetically give an environment that'll appeal to the student growth. So though it seems the decay, we have done yeoman's amount of work to bring things up to par so that the students have that healthy environment.
Donna?
We're long overdue. With the mayor, that it was dry. Requests out for new schools. I was just a parent, an active parent in the community when Mayor McManus, went all around to every group. He wanted a new classical. He knew that we had to have it, and that's how we got it.
Any other questions from the audience?
She's just going to finish. She didn't go. She's only
Okay.
one. Sorry.
If I could.
Yep.
That'd be great. I just wanted to say that as far as I understand, Dr. Crane isn't leaving. Am I right on that? That she has reneged her resignation, which I think is great. I think those programs at the Ford School would really fall apart without her. I hear you on the kindergarten busing issue. I came from a district that bused from kindergarten to 12th grade, so I was used to it, where I think that the school could have done a better job is letting the parents know about the issue and involving them more and being more transparent with them about what plans they were planning on making. And like you've heard the entire committee say, is that the city has control over the money for the buildings. But I think what we're not hearing is that the school committee has a totally different interaction with the inspectional service department. I know as a parent, my kid goes to Druitt's and they found mold at Druitt's. And the teachers or the parents were notified by teachers at the school that mold was found. I called Mike Donovan. Mike Donovan said, no mold was found. I emailed Rick Starbird. Rick Starbird says, hey, I just got an email from Mike Donovan saying mold was found. The city in inspectional services needs to do their part too.
Thank you. We do have another audience
Go ahead.
question.
State your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Natasha, and the question I have is really for all of you, but I really want to know what you feel about charter schools, and would you be opposed to building more charter schools in Lynn?
We can have everybody answer. You got about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I kind of got beat for this when I was first running initially. My nephew went to KIPP, and when I was first running, I spent a day going through KIPP, and it worked for him. That said, I don't think it would have worked well for my own kids, for the things that they did after school. Some kids need that structure, and other kids need a more rounded education outside of school. And they don't need to be there every other Saturday. They don't need to be there all summer long. I don't think we need more, and I've spoken out against it. Just like Lynn Tech works for some, but we don't need to put a vocational school in every neighborhood.
Okay.
Next. Why don't we go right down?
Yeah, let's go right down.
Melissa?
I'd love to answer it. I actually have children that attend KIPP Academy in Lynn, and I love it. It's a great school. It's a great program. Like I said, they started today. It's a longer year. It's a longer school day. One of the things I really like about charters is the idea that our existing public schools are overcrowded. So charters are taking some of that weight off of us. And I know I get it all the time, especially from Stan, we disagree on this, is that it's a private school education, and the public is funding that. I actually think the public school could take a lot of page out of KIPP's book and learn how they're doing funding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, the charter schools are here to stay, but I'm against them until they level the playing field. The expenses are not the same. They're very costly to the taxpayer. taxpayers paying, daily. I think this year's costing $12 million for the charter school. Also, for example, KIPP Academy could solicit private funds to build a new school, and the public schools are not allowed that luxury. I think if they level the playing field, then we can take another look at charter schools.
Thank you. Right.
Charter schools, I believe that everybody should have their own philosophy of education. But my niece went to KIPP Academy, and she is now going to Classical High School. She went to the KIPP Academy for 5, 6, and 7. She did not have a pleasant experience, and she's over at Classical right now, and she just became junior prom queen. And she is disabled. She is on crutches, and she just was embraced by that community. So I think that charter schools are good for some, but they take a lot of money out of our budget.
Thank you. I agree with Lorraine Gately and others on this, and let me be clear, I oppose the establishment or expansion of charter schools in the city of Lynn. They are not public schools. They are private schools that rely on public dollars. However, students enter by winning a lottery. So all of the city's tax dollars go to educate a few students. I think we need to be educating all of our students and providing a quality education for all, not using tax dollars in that way. Now, school committee members can't vote on charter schools, but we can have some influence. And when there was talk of a charter school being created in Saugus to accept Lynn students, I wrote a letter in opposition to that.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
I like to ask that question, why some parents want to have the kids charter school? And Melissa said something about extended hours. That's what parents are looking for. We have parents in our home who have 2 jobs, and they want to make sure the kids going to be safe in one place. But the other thing is that we have, what I disagree in something is that, besides everything that you say, is that as a public school, we embrace all the students. It doesn't matter when they come to this city, so which is very different.
Donna?
I find charters to be a drain on Lynn financially, especially now that I sit on the school committee and we see that. And I think Mr. Fortucci put together something that really was very clear and explained that to us, what a drain it is on us. The other thing I have a problem with is, one of the private schools that we had, the Hathaway School in Lynn, moved to Swampscott and applied to be a charter school. So here they are with Lynn Kids. It was a private, and they just want to become a charter school. They have closed down, but now they're still trying to pursue and get it to become a charter school. I think it's wrong.
I believe every parent, I chose the path of my child's education, and I believe a parent has the choice to choose the path of their education. What I don't believe in is having it as a financial drain on a city budget. We had started out under $6 million when we started with the charter schools. We are up to $12 million. The budget has doubled in those few years, which is doubling the resources exiting our schools. Our teachers are licensed and qualified teachers. The teachers in the KIPP school may be qualified, but their licensures are not to the level that our students have in their teachers.
Stanley.
Okay. It's just, I believe it's not really, it's an artificial school lottery system. It is not a true lottery. It's rigged because only certain people get to get involved in the lottery, and so that creates an artificial inflation of their scores and makes them look much better. The amount of money it takes away from the public schools is just unbelievable.
So we actually, you guys got that
Thank
done
you
like, right
very
on
much.
time. Thank you for excellent answers. We're going to go to a break, but I wanted to remind everyone to please call in with questions. And then also, Al was just mentioning about Magnolia's next question.
She's got a tough question for all of you. So
when we
be
come
prepared
back.
when we come back.
So we're going to go to this break, please. 781-596-9641 as we wrap up tonight's show. So thank you.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great authentic Italian food.
5 seconds, get out of there.
Hi everyone, welcome back. So we actually do not have time for Magnolia's tough question, so you were all saved by the bell. But we do have one more audience question. If you could let us know not only who you are, but who you would like to ask, because we don't have time for everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brant Duncan. My daughter is a student at the Sisson School, and I'm a representative also of the Lynn Teachers Union. My questions, a lot of them were answered over the course of the evening. Thank you. One that evolved, many of you celebrated the successes of the Ford School. We also talked quite a bit about the state's accountability system and the labeling of schools. So if we could just briefly address the differences between Ford being identified as a level 3 school and some of the successes that you folks are indicating you'd like to see replicated in other schools. So we could just clarify that for the folks at home. And the other is, what specific things can we do as a community, have you done as committee members or potential committee members to improve the image of our schools? Thank you.
And whom would you like that directed to? We're short for time, so we would like some thought from you around whom you would direct your question to, please.
Well, I guess some of our candidates, and we've heard less from you than some of our elected officials. If the candidates could speak to what they would do to improve the image of our schools, please.
Thank you. New people, Stan, Melissa, and Lorraine. Lorraine, why don't you start? Briefly, because we're short for time. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that we are going to improve the image of our schools by increasing our MCAS test scores, by developing or building new schools for our students to go to, and by developing a sense of pride in our schools. After school programs, I'd like to see a few of those. But I don't want to take away from Girls Inc. or the Boys Club or the Raw Arts. But I think that to improve the image of our schools, people have to talk positively about our schools.
Thank you. Ms. Wallace.
Sure. So I'm the queen of free. Anybody that knows me knows that I love extreme couponing and that I love getting things for free. One of the things that I love is Facebook. Facebook is totally free. It changed my opinion of the Marshall School. I subscribe and I follow the Marshall's Facebook page. I love seeing those smiling kids. I love hearing about the awards that they're getting. I love seeing them all dressed up. I think if every school had their own Facebook page and could put out there, like, this is the great stuff that we're doing, that would really help improve our image. I think it would also spread the word that we're getting better.
That's Mr. Stamps.
It's not fair. I was supposed to go first. Melissa stole my answer. I have been a big proponent of Marshall's use of the Facebook page. Pickering has their own take on it, where they do it with the group, and that's not quite as good in my opinion, but you got to get the story out there. I mean, I have a blog. I've got 280,000 clicks. It's all about content. You got to keep on getting the word out. And, you know, Marshall's doing great things. They got to show people. And other schools can do it too.
Thank you. Okay, so you want to invite them to close?
We're going to give you a chance now. We're near the end of the show. You can consolidate your thoughts. Each of you are going to have a minute for closing remarks.
More like 40 seconds.
40 seconds, well, 40 seconds. 40,
Roughly,
45
we just
I'm not
don't
going
wanna-
to talk. Why don't we begin right away with Patrice and come right down, and maybe you can address things that we didn't talk about or whatever, but you, unfortunately, we only get about 40 seconds each. Okay?
Okay, thank you. We are doing great things in the city of Lynn. We are doing things that are helping our student achievement. We are working on the wraparound schools that put the community and the students together. We are reaching out to the community. We're learning that a full student serviced is a successful student.
I appreciate this opportunity today, and I hope people at home enjoyed and got what they needed. I'm accessible. You can call me and if you have more questions than what we were able to answer today. But I continue to have faith that our children can reach the potential that we want them to reach. And I also welcome all new families that are coming. I think it's a really important thing that we be as Lynn has always been. And as far as you just give me one of your 6 votes on election day, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Maria?
Well, yes, I believe in the public school. My 3 children are products, and some of my grandchildren. I believe that we're doing good, but we can do better. It's always room to improve. And yes, I want to continue. I ask you, please go to vote. I'm going to be number 1 in September 17. So, but please vote also for the new marshal. We need you to say yes to the new marshal. I just want to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. I want to thank LynnCAM for holding this debate. I want to thank each and every person who's in the audience today and those watching at home. You should be commended for being informed voters. To learn more about my campaign, you can visit my website, charliegallo.com, find me on Facebook or Twitter, or you can call or email me. I know that the future of our city is in our schools. Since starting my first term in 2012, I've worked hard to improve them, and I hope I've shown you that tonight. To continue to do that, I need your support. So I respectfully ask for one of your 6 votes on Tuesday, September 17th, and on Tuesday, November 5th. In addition, I ask that you please support the Marshall Bond on Tuesday, September 17th. Thank you.
Lorraine?
I would really like to continue to serve the citizens of Lynn and the school committee. I want to thank you, LynnCAM, and moderators, and the people that are viewing, and the people that came down here for showing your support. My life, 33 and a half years, were dedicated to this public school. And what I would really, really like you to know is that you trusted me for 33 and a half years with your child. Now trust me with your vote. Thank you. I would appreciate one of your 6 votes. Thank you.
John?
I want to thank everyone for the opportunity tonight. I seek re-election because I've been on the Marshall School building project, and I would like to see it through to the actual ribbon cutting. I am also looking forward to continue as chairman of Building and Grounds and work with the MSBA on building a new Pickering, followed by a new Tracy school. And finally, I support the superintendent and the administration and would like to continue working with them. We elected Dr. Latham, And although there are committee members who want to see her removed, we have an obligation to honor her contract. The DOE mandates that as school committee members, we are obligated to support the efforts of the superintendent. I believe that the system is working as well as any of its size in the state.
I'm running for school committee because I want to make sure that parents have a voice in their education of their children and that they're heard and listened to. I want parents to know and feel that they matter and that their contributions are welcomed and appreciated. I think honesty is really important in our school systems. I think it's very important to trumpet our successes. It's equally as important to talk about where we're failing and where we're falling down and be honest and open and reach out into our community and ask our community for help in solving our problems. As a homeowner in Lynn, I hope to be able to sell my home someday. I hope that new families come into Lynn, and I know that schools are the foundation of all of this. If we can't improve our schools, we can't improve our city. And I think together that we can do it. If you want to find out more information on me, check out my Facebook page. It's Melissa for Lynn School Committee on Facebook. If you want to ask me a question, it's melissa4lynnschools.blogspot.com.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate tonight. I love what I do. It's been a privilege to serve on the school committee for the past 2 terms. I've met a lot of great people. I've learned a lot of great things, and it's always a work in progress. I'm going to take the rest of my time to keep beating the Marshall horse, but please, 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 September 17th, help us turn this into this, because our kids need it. They deserve it, and we need more of these across the city of Lynn. Please support the bond vote in September. Thank you.
Stanley.
Okay, first I'd like to thank my son Trippy for spending his birthday here with me. If you want to find out more about me and my opinions, I have lots of them. Google me. You only have probably about 4,000 or 5,000 entries to look at. I'm very passionate about education because I think education is a lifetime commitment, and the only way you can fix things is to learn how to do it. And so learning is very, very important. I appreciate one of your 6 votes.
Thank you very much, all the candidates. We have just a candidates and we want to encourage the people out there that the election is September 17th. Not only should you go out and vote, but you should help your candidate up here of choice, get involved in their campaign, help them out. It's worth an awful lot. They serve many, many hours over a period of a month. I would say easily probably 10, 15 hours a week they're putting in. They do it without pay, and that we should be very grateful for each of them. So please go out and vote on September 17th. Pick your candidates of choice. You have 6 votes. We're very fortunate, Lynn, to have such a talented group of people running for school committee. If any of you wish to come back on for a half hour before the election on our regular Wednesday night program, please let Cassie know, and we'd love to have you come back on and let you talk in a little more depth about things that we didn't get to tonight, including Brent with the Teachers Union.
Thank you
Thank
to
you
everyone.
very much. And
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Alan Magnolia. What an excellent choice we have here for our moderators tonight. You both did a great job with questions. They have more questions, so I'm sure that you should come on the show. We have great things to discuss. And to everyone at home, thank you so much for tuning in. And please tell people that this will be rebroadcast if they missed it. It's very important that you hear from your candidates and that you have an opportunity to know what's going on. So we appreciate you tuning in, and we encourage you to continuously check our schedule. Thanks so much. Thanks to all my crew, our crew. Thanks, guys.
Good evening.
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Are you okay with it? I didn't